The darkness, the late hour, the cold, and dealing with faint stars are only few of the many aspects that make photographing nocturnal landscape a challenging experience. If you think your starry landscapes look dull, next time try to do a star trails. Star trails are probably the easiest type of astrophotography. You do not need special equipment, they create a stunning effect on the sky, and the long exposure will help making the foreground more visible. But why do the stars trail? This is due to Earth rotation. Earth rotates on its axis once in 24 hours, making the stars look like they are moving in arcs and circles throughout the night. If you are in the northern hemisphere, the next time you are out there, look for Polaris, the North Star. To find it, search Ursa Major, also called the Big Dipper. This is a very known and easy to spot constellation that is visible all the year. Find the handle, then look at the stars Dubhe and Merak. Draw an imaginary line that goes from Merak to Dubhe and extend it about 5 times to find Polaris. Now, if you photograph the sky in the direction of Polaris, you will see the stars moving in circles. In the southern hemisphere, you will see the same effect if you are photographing in the direction of the southern celestial pole. While photographing circular star trails is very popular, this is not the only way to do it. Look east or west. Now the stars crisscross the sky, drawing wide arcs, some bending north, some bending south. And as per any landscape photography, you need a bit of preparation. Wide-angle lenses are great to show the full landscape, but because of the wide field of view, it will take quite a long time for the stars to draw long enough trails. Telephoto lenses, on the other hand, are better to isolate the interesting part of a landscape, but because they have a narrower field of view, the stars will trail much quicker, but you may struggle to show enough sky. As per camera settings, begin by switching your camera to manual mode. Next, set the aperture to about f5.6 to f8, so you can get single exposures of about 30 to 60 seconds without clipping the stars to pure white. Use also a relative low ISO to retain most of the sensor dynamic range and to contain the digital noise. For most of the camera, ISO 400 or ISO 800 should do. With those settings, shoot the sky for about 1 hour or two, with no more than 1 second delay between the photograph. As a rule of thumb, the longer you photograph the sky, the better your star trails will look like. Also, be sure you manual focus on the stars and use daylight-white balance. After all, the stars are suns. Shoot in RAW for the best editing possibility, and because you are on a tripod, make sure you disable image stabilization. Also, make sure you turn off the long exposure noise reduction. To photograph star trails, you need a camera, a USB-powered lens heater to prevent the lens to fog in cold and humid conditions, a tripod, and an intervalometer to automate your image sequence. Because you will shoot hundreds of RAW, make sure you have a large enough memory card and also bring fully charged batteries. Bring a hand lamp with red light so you see what you are doing without spoiling your night vision. Finally, as you will stay long hours in the field, consider bringing some comfort items, such as food, beverages, a camp chair, your phone, warm clothes, and, if possible, a friend. Now, whether you are doing landscape photography during the day or at night, to be successful, you cannot forget composition. This sky looks a bit too empty and boring. Now is the foreground to be too empty, and this is quite a bad composition altogether. Instead, try applying composition rules to your images, such as the rule of thirds, and use the star trails as a composition element to balance the image. Plan your session ahead. In particular, try to have a big moon low in the sky and keep it out of the frame. In this way, you will have a natural illumination for the entire landscape. This will prevent you to get photographed with noisy and dark foregrounds. Sometimes, the best composition for the landscape does not match that for the sky. If you have a boring foreground, don't worry, you can still stage it to make it more interesting. Use yourself or your camera as a point of interest, and you can even drive your car into the frame to create light trails. And finally, while you were after a StarTrails, don't dismiss the possibility to use those hundreds of images to create a time-lapse video. Once you have done your work in the field, to create the StarTrail you need to combine all the images using Photoshop, GIMP or any other software. Simply import all the images and separated layer and blend them in lighted mode. Or you can use a dedicated software like StarStack. If you want to know more about StarTrail, be sure to check the link in the description of the video. And as always, thanks for watching.